Discover the incredible love that transforms a scarred billionaire's life. After 10 years of pain, Jake Thompson stared out of his penthouse window, grasping a glass of whiskey tight enough to feel its coolness through the crystal. 10 years had melted away since the accident, leaving behind a hollowed husk of the man he once was. The laughter of children played outside like a haunting melody, slipping through the open window and dancing around the corners of his memory. His wife, Claire, had been the heartbeat of his life, the warmth in his cold, corporate existence. Now, he was a billionaire wrapped in a cocoon of luxury, peering down at a world he felt more disconnected from with each passing year, every day blurred together in a whirl of unworn suits and untouched meals. The sparkling city below, vibrant and alive, became a fraying thread tethering him to a past he could not escape. He signed checks effortlessly to fund projects that felt distant and uninspiring. Today was different. The community meeting he felt obligated to attend pulled on him like an ancient anchor. Wealth could buy him anything, but it couldn't gift him genuine connection. As Jake walked into the community center, walls adorned with faded murals of children at play, he felt an unfamiliar tug within him. Then, there she was, Sarah. Her bright smile cut through his fog of despair, a beam of sunlight on a stormy day. A devoted teacher, juggling her heavy workload and financial struggles, Sarah radiated kindness as she spoke about revitalizing the very community center they stood in. Jake was captivated. Here was someone who truly cared, someone who held hope in her hands, yet bore the weight of the world's expectation. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Those initial encounters turned into conversations, then confessions. Her laughter cracked him open, introducing warmth back into his life. Jake felt the long-forgotten embers of hope reignite. But as their connection deepened, so did the shadows. A secret of family history that tainted her, one that rubbed against Jake's notions of worth, threatened everything they were building. Uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud overhead, each conversation flickering like a candle in the wind. On the day of the town hall meeting, a cacophony of voices besieged them. Skepticism dripped from the crowd, taunting their fragile bond, while Jake felt the heavy chains of societal perception around him. With emotions flaring, Sarah's eyes glistened with unshed tears as whispers cut through the room. The past merged with present tension, revealing deeper struggles not just between them, but within themselves. Jake needed to make a choice that could bind them closer together or shatter their newfound connection beneath the weight of judgment. Could love truly bloom amidst the expectations of status? As he looked into Sarah's eyes, he knew he was on the precipice of transformation, a moment that could redefine them both forever. Would he leap? Would he risk it all for a chance at redemption? Holding his breath, the silence around him pulsed with anticipation, leaving them both on the brink of change. Jake's heart raced as he faced the crowd. People murmured in disbelief, their eyes flickering between him and Sarah. The burden of judgment sat heavily on his shoulders. He shifted on his feet, wishing he could retreat from the spotlight. But he couldn't. Not anymore. Looking at Sarah, he saw both strength and vulnerability. She was trying to steady herself amidst the storm that brewed outside. Their connection had grown fragile, like a delicate web threatening to unravel. He felt the heat of the room and the weight of expectation pressing in around them. It was time to choose. Listen, he began, his voice shaky at first. He cleared his throat and tried again. I know what you all think of me. I know my name can open doors, but it can also close them. You see a wealthy man with power, but I see myself in the mirror every day and hate the man looking back. But he nodded toward Sarah, she sees something else in me, something real. And that scares me more than anything else. Jake's words hung in the air, thick with emotion. A small gasp rose from the audience, and he knew several were frowning. In that moment, vulnerability enveloped him. His carefully constructed defenses were crumbling. But love pushed him forward. "I've lived in shadows for too long," he continued, his voice growing stronger. "With her, I feel the light again. And yes, we come from different worlds, but we both want the same thing, a better community for these kids." He gestured to the vibrant murals surrounding them. "So before you judge, think about what it means to have hope, to strive for connection, and to believe that we can all grow beyond our pasts." The silence that followed felt electric. People exchanged glances, weighing his words, their defenses wavering. He was pouring his heart out, not just for himself, but for Sarah, too. He turned back to her, searching her expression. He needed her to understand. Sarah stepped forward, her voice quaking slightly as it broke the stillness. "I may not have the resources everyone expects, but I believe in this community. I am struggling, but I want to fight for our children." Her gaze locked onto Jake's. "I want to fight for us." Their eyes held a universe of understanding. And in that shared moment, Sarah's sincerity dissolved the tensions that clung to the crowd. Slowly, hands began to rise in approval. It started as a ripple, but soon applause broke out, a hesitant, curious reaction that sparked something deeper. Energy surged in the room, transforming skepticism into cautious hope. Jake could see the flicker of commitment growing in their eyes, the realization that love could indeed defy expectations, but just as they began to sigh with relief, a firebrand voice rose above the crowd. "But what about her past? Can we trust her with our children?" The words struck like a bolt of lightning. Jake's heart plummeted. Shadows from Sarah's history loomed larger than he imagined, echoing in every corner of their burgeoning relationship. He glanced at her, the determination crumbling into fear as her resolve flickered. He felt desperation claw at him. The question of trust hung palpably between them. He understood then that this was just the beginning of their struggle. They weren't merely fighting for acceptance, they were battling their own insecurities, wanting to build a future on the shaky ground of the past. Jake took a step forward, feeling the challenge ignite within him. "We'll figure it out together," he said, turning to face the crowd again. "No matter the past, love can lead us forward." But as he finished, an unsettling thought crept into his mind. What if Sarah's past was more than a shadow? What if it had the power to derail everything they fought for? The room filled with uncertainty, breaths held in anticipation as Jake and Sarah locked eyes once more. His heart thudded. The real fight was only just beginning. Jake could feel the weight of every gaze in the room, each one a silent accusation, every whisper a thunderous echo in his mind. He turned back to Sarah, who looked both terrified and defiant. It was a potent mix, and it made his heart ache. He wanted to shield her, to wrap her in the safety of his love, but how could he when they were facing such an insurmountable challenge? She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I can share my story," Sarah said, her voice trembling but growing in strength. "I will not hide anymore. It's time for the truth." Jake felt admiration surge within him. Here she was, willing to confront her past in front of everyone. He realized that her willingness to be vulnerable was a powerful statement. It was a risk, but the kind of risk that comes with love, the kind that could heal or devastate. "Sometimes, it's not just about what we've done but what we choose to do next," Jake added, his voice steadying. "The past doesn't define us. Sarah has fought her battles, and she is here standing tall. That takes courage." The crowd seemed to shift. He could see some heads nodding thoughtfully, as if they were starting to grasp the gravity of the moment. The atmosphere was changing, and he prayed it was for the better. "Go on," someone encouraged from the back, a woman's voice filled with empathy. With a nod, Sarah stepped closer to Jake, her hand brushing against his and grounding them both. "I made mistakes," she began, her voice cracking slightly. "And yes, my past is marred with choices I regret. But they taught me lessons. They shaped who I am. I have worked every day to become something better, someone strong that you can trust. Jake could see the flicker of connection in the crowd. Faces softened, and some were whispering to each other, exchanging glances filled with understanding. Those who once doubted appeared to reconsider their judgments. I grew up in a neighborhood like this, Sarah continued, her eyes glistening. I understand the fears that come with uncertainty. But I also know the power of love, of community. I want to give back, to help these kids have opportunities one didn't. That's why I'm here. The applause began again, this time louder, infused with the kind of warmth that spurred them forward. Jake felt hope bloom within him. His heart swelled with pride for Sarah. She was revealing herself, shaking off the chains of her past, battling alongside him. This was a turning point, but then, just as the warmth grew, another voice ruptured the fragile atmosphere. And what if she fails again? What if she hurts those kids? The man's tone was sharp, laced with skepticism. Jake's stomach twisted. He could see doubt creeping back into the crowd. He took a steadying breath. Failure is part of life, he declared, words pouring out in a rush. We all stumble. But the question is, can we rise again? Every person here has fallen at some point. It's how we build ourselves back up that counts. He sought Sarah's gaze, desperate for her to know he believed in her. She nodded slightly, her eyes fierce with determination. The applause grew even more enthusiastic. The hopeful energy wrapped around them like a warm embrace, but the tension still lingered, thick and palpable. Just then, a buzz of murmurs swept through the audience. People pointed toward the back of the room. Jake squinted into the dimness, suddenly sensing danger. A figure stood there, face obscured in shadow. The air crackled with unease, and Jake felt dread settle like a stone in his gut. Who was it? And what did their presence mean for Sarah and the fragile hope they had begun to build? Jake tightened his grip on Sarah's hand, sensing a storm brewing. The courage they had shown might be about to be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. Who are you? He called out, his heart racing as the crowd shifted anxiously. But instead of an answer, the figure stepped forward, revealing a face that Jake thought he would never see again. Jake's heart pounded as he processed the figure before him. The dim light illuminated a familiar face, Mark, his brother. The years had etched deep lines into his features, but the intensity of his gaze hadn't diminished. Jake's chest tightened at the sight. Mark? Jake whispered, disbelief mixing with anger. What are you doing here? The crowd fell silent, the earlier energy replaced by a tense stillness. Sarah glanced at Jake, confusion clouding her expression. She clearly didn't understand the weight of Mark's presence, nor the history tying him to Jake's past, a past steeped in betrayal and heartache. Mark stepped into the light, the shadows fading to reveal a man who had once been a source of pride and later, deep disappointment. I came to find you, both of you, he said, his voice steady but filled with a sorrow that made the air around them feel heavier. Why now? Jake spat, his anger flaring. After all these years, you just show up? I know I'm not welcome, Mark admitted, his chin raised defiantly. But I want to explain, to apologize. I never wanted things to end like they did. Jake clenched his fists by his side. Memories rushed back, moments of laughter turned sour, a fractured bond over something insidious. You chose money over family, he shot back, bitterness spilling out. You walked away, leaving us to pick up the pieces. I know. Mark's voice cracked. And I learned the hard way. The life I thought I wanted, it's empty without the people I love. I burned every bridge. He gestured toward the crowd, filled with those Jake had sought to protect. I want to help, to make amends. Jake could see the crowd's reaction. Confusion mingled with renewed wariness. They exchanged glances, uncertain of how to process Mark's sudden reappearance. Some shifted uneasily, while others leaned in, curiosity piqued. This isn't the time or place for a family reunion, Jake said, his heart clenched with a mix of rage and something softer, an ache for the brother he had lost. Sarah's warmth pressed against him, her presence grounding him when he felt like he might drift away in his storm of emotions. "Maybe you're right," Mark replied, his eyes darting between them. "But I can't stand back and let you face this alone. The mistakes I made haunt me every single day. And I need you to know, I want to change. I want to support this community, and I can if you let me." The crowd began to murmur, voices rising and falling like waves. There was a mix of skepticism and curiosity about this unexpected ally. Could he really mean it? Would he stay true to his word this time? "Change takes time, Mark," Jake warned, his voice firm but also filled with tentative hope. "It's not just about showing up. You have to prove that you've changed." Mark nodded, looking resolute. "I know. And I'll do whatever it takes. I'll help fund the program Sarah wants to run. I'll offer mentorship, anything. Please just give me a chance." Sarah stood beside Jake, her eyes flickering between the two brothers. She could see the battle within Jake teetering on the precipice between trust and betrayal. "What do you think, Jake?" she asked quietly, sensing the importance of this moment. Jake felt the gaze of the crowd and then the weight of Sarah's question hang in the air. Could he really allow his brother back into their lives? Or would this be another betrayal lurking in the shadows? His heart raced, the tension spiraling as the answer loomed close, yet felt impossibly far away. As Jake searched Mark's face for sincerity, he realized this wasn't just about family, it was about community, about the future they were trying to build together. But could he risk it all again? The air thickened with uncertainty, and Jake felt the stakes rising higher. Could these two hurt souls mend the fractured pieces of their lives, or was this another chapter set to end in heartbreak? Just as he was about to respond, the sounds of sirens began to pierce through the silence outside, their wailing echoing ominously, leaving everything feeling dangerously unresolved. The sirens grew louder, cutting through the tension like a knife. Jake's heart raced, and for a moment, all he could think about was the chaos that had slowly come to define their small town. The sound felt like a warning, a drumbeat of urgent change, or perhaps a signal that everything was about to spiral out of control once again. He glanced around, the crowd's expressions shifting from curiosity to concern. Whispers began to swell, questions fizzing in the air. They were anxious. Jake could feel their nervous energy washing over him. Uncertainty clung to the atmosphere, as heavy as the fog that often rolled in off the coast. Mark shifted uncomfortably, sensing the mood. "Look, I know this is a lot to take in," he began, his tone faltering. "But I wouldn't have come here if I didn't think I could truly help. You need resources, support. I can provide that. Just give me a chance." The sirens pierced the air again, reverberating in the distance like a heartbeat. Jake found himself wavering. Was Mark's sudden appearance a chance for redemption or a desperate attempt to save himself? Everything in Jake screamed to protect what little he had left. "Let us not act rashly," Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper, fighting the urge to pull away from this moment. "I need time to think. This isn't just about us anymore." Mark hesitated, his brow furrowing under the weight of Jake's uncertainty. "I understand. Just, don't shut me out, okay? I'm not the man I used to be. I promise." Sarah stepped forward, sensing Jake's turmoil. "Jake, we've talked a lot about community, about how to build something from the ground up. Maybe this is an opportunity? Maybe it's worth exploring what Mark can offer?" Jake's eyes flicked to hers, he felt a swell of gratitude for her support. But the pain of their past resounded loudly in his mind, drowning out hope. "You were hurt, too, Sarah. Are you willing to take a leap of faith on someone who has hurt us both? What if it's all just words? I don't have all the answers, but what if he means it?" she urged. "People can change. They do change. We can't fight this battle alone." As the sirens finally echoed away, replaced by an unsettling silence, something within Jake shifted. The tension in his chest loosened just a little. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance to confront the past to redefine their future. "Fine," he said, drawing a deep breath. "But we're starting at square one, Mark. You will have to prove yourself before anyone here trusts you again. And if you falter," he let the threat linger, unsaid but clear. "I get it." Mark's voice was heavy with sincerity, a slight tremor revealing how much he understood what was at stake. "I'll do whatever it takes." Jake's mind raced as he took in the faces around him, people he had fought for, believed in, and cared about deeply. The community was fragile, and he feared that opening the door to Mark might shatter it further. But maybe turning away would leave them with nothing. As they began to weigh their options together, the sound of footsteps broke the silence. A couple of men in uniforms came into view, the town's police officers. Their presence brought a palpable sense of foreboding. "What is going on here?" one of them called out, a stern note cutting through the air. Jake felt the tension snap back into place. He could feel the eyes of the crowd, all landing on him. Now, with the authorities present, the stakes had risen even further. Trust was fragile enough without outside scrutiny. As he met the gaze of the officer, Jake knew that whatever he decided, it would echo beyond this moment. He would have to stand firm, not just for his family, but for everyone around him. History was a reminder of pain, but perhaps it could also be a teacher. With everything on the line, Jake realized this moment was merely the beginning. The future loomed ominously ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. What would he choose? What would it cost? And as he opened his mouth to speak, he couldn't shake the feeling that the answering choice could change everything. Jake swallowed hard, the question hanging in the air like a storm cloud. He could feel the crowd's eyes on him, coiled with anticipation. It was a familiar feeling, this weight of expectation, yet this time, it felt more suffocating. The officers' uniforms glinted beneath the streetlights, amplifying the tension. "What is going on here?" the taller officer repeated, his voice laced with authority. Jake took a step forward, squaring his shoulders as he sought the right words. "It's complicated," he finally managed, glancing at Mark, who was now shifting nervously beside him. Jake's instinct urged him to protect their fragile unity, but the officer's expectant gaze made it clear that they could not afford any secrets now. "Complicated usually means trouble," the officer shot back. The second officer, a younger man, shifted uneasily from foot to foot, as if the air was charged with the smell of trouble. Jake felt Julia's anxious fingertips brush against his arm. "We're trying to bring the community together. This isn't the time to escalate anything," she said quietly, her pleading eyes meeting his. The taller officer raised an eyebrow, taking in the makeshift gathering. "And how's that working out for you?" It stung. Each word felt like a jab, forcing Jake to confront the fragile state of their community's trust. He took a breath, steeling himself. "We're working on building something positive together. Rebuilding, actually. It's not easy." Mark shifted again, the tension between them palpable. "I can help with that," he added, his voice trembling between hope and desperation. The officers exchanged glances, skepticism drawn across their faces. "We know your history, Mark. Are you sure you're ready to step back into the ring?" the taller officer asked. "None of us are without scars," Mark replied, his eyes flickering with something that resembled determination. "But, in order to heal, we have to try together." Jake felt the weight of Mark's words. They resonated deeply, pulling at the frayed edges of his own anger and grief. Could he really trust Mark? Was it worth the risk? The crowd murmured, debate coursing through the throng. Jake caught snippets of whispered concerns. What if he betrays us again? Are we really ready to let him back in? He closed his eyes for just a moment, seeking clarity. He remembered all the faces of those who depended on him, who had fought through lost sentiments and broken promises. Maybe Mark wasn't the only one in need of redemption. Look, Jake said finally, his voice steadying with resolve. We all want what's best for this town. But trust isn't easily given, it has to be earned. And we will earn it, Mark interjected, determination sparking in his tone. Together, Sarah added, stepping forward to stand beside Jake and Mark, her unity shifting the energy of the gathering. The officers exchanged glances once more before the elder one sighed. All right. Keep it peaceful. But we'll be watching. As the officers turned and retreated, a collective tension released from the crowd. Hope flickered in the air like the distant blinking of stars. Jake glanced at Sarah and Mark. They were in this together now, but doubt still gnawed at his resolve. We can't afford to fail, he said, more to himself than anyone else. Then we won tea, Sarah replied softly. As the group began to disperse, Jake felt an eerie sense of possibility blooming amidst the uncertainty. A small spark of hope ignited within him. Maybe this was the first step forward. Maybe Mark could indeed become a part of their community again, maybe forgiveness could break the cycle. But as he walked away, a shadow passed through his mind, one he couldn't shake off. Had they truly secured their future, or had they just opened the door to another reckoning? The night felt heavy, each decision weighing down as they moved toward a new chapter. And just as Jake thought he could breathe, a familiar face appeared from the shadows, a woman with desperation etched into her features. Jake, she said breathlessly, you need to hear this. His heart sank. What had he stepped into? And what other secrets were waiting to surface? Jake took a step back as the woman approached, her distressed expression cutting through the night. He recognized her instantly, Lisa, a longtime friend turned estranged since the troubles had begun. Her eyes were wide, filled with a mix of fear and urgency that sent a chill down his spine. What is it, Lisa? He managed to ask, his voice barely above a whisper. The crowd had thinned, leaving only a few stragglers who eyed them curiously as they passed. I found something, she replied, glancing around as if she feared being overheard. Something you need to know about Mark. Jake felt his chest tighten. Mark had just asked for a chance at redemption, and now there was a new shadow creeping into that fragile hope. What do you mean? Lisa hesitated, biting her lip. It's about his past, things he hasn't told you. Things he has worked hard to keep hidden. Like what? Jake pressed, the skepticism tightening in his throat. He wanted to believe in Mark, but now a storm of doubt brewed within him. Remember the incident last year? The warehouse fire? Jake nodded, the memory still vivid. It had devastated their community, leaving families displaced and grief-stricken. Well, Mark had a hand in it, she continued, her voice trembling. I didn't want to say anything before. I thought we could move on, but I overheard him talking with someone. They mentioned the fire as an opportunity. The words hit Jake like a punch. You're saying he set that fire? Why would he do that? To cover up something bigger. A deal gone wrong. He was involved with people you don't want in your life, Jake. You have to be careful. The world around Jake blurred for a moment. Everything he had just started to rebuild felt like it was teetering on the edge once more. Mark wanted to earn trust, but could he? Had anything been genuine? I have to talk to him, Jake said, a mix of anger and heartbreak coursing through him. Wait, Lisa grasped his arm, her gaze serious. Before you confront him, think about it. You could destroy everything you've just built. Our community needs strength now, not division. Her words hung like a weight between them. He looked back at the distant flicker of lights illuminating the gathering space. For a moment, he imagined Mark standing there, hopeful and eager to take a step toward healing. But the image was flickering, like a candle in a wind. Jake grappled with the conflicting feelings inside. On one hand, he wanted to protect his community, to believe that every person could change. On the other hand, Could he trust someone who might have let them all down again? Then maybe I need to know for sure, he said finally. If he is dangerous, that is something we need to face together. Lisa nodded, a thin smile of support breaking through her worry. Just be careful, Jake. Some truths are buried deep for a reason. As he turned away, doubt gnawed at him again. The balance was delicate, any wrong move could spell disaster for everyone involved. Before he could step away, the night seemed to pulse with more questions than answers, a tight coil of anxiety surrounding him. What would he find when he confronted Mark? Was the chance for redemption too good to be true? Or was this just the beginning of a much deeper unraveling? With a heavy heart and a mind swirling with uncertainty, Jake steeled himself for the conversation that would change everything. Taking a deep breath, he prepared to seek the truth, whatever it may hold. And just as he took his first step, the wind shifted, carrying a distant sound that made him freeze. A siren, the unmistakable wail of an approaching emergency vehicle. What new troubles were on the horizon now? The siren grew louder, slicing through the crisp night air. Jake felt his heart race, urgency flooding his senses. He turned to Lisa, her apprehensive face reflecting his own turmoil. The chill of uncertainty gripped them both. Should we stay? Lisa asked, her voice trembling. Jake nodded, his instinct urging him to take cover. But his mind was centered on Mark, not the chaos. He couldn't shake the feeling that his confrontation was imminent. The sirens could be a distraction or a catalyst, he didn't know. All he knew was that he needed answers. As they stood in silence, watching the lights flash in the distance, a wave of determination surged through him. This wasn't just about Mark anymore, it was about the community they had fought to rebuild. Every decision weighed heavy, and he had to be the anchor. Let us move, he finally said, choosing to trust his gut. He took off towards the sound, Lisa falling into step beside him. The night felt alive, thick with tension and urgency. They pushed through the small group of lingering attendees, people who remained blissfully unaware of the darkness lurking beneath the surface. As they approached the scene, Jake saw the glow of flames licking at the night sky. A warehouse, this one not too different from the one that had burned a year ago, stood ominously in front of them. Firefighters worked diligently to subdue the blaze, their faces grim and focused. He spotted Mark near the perimeter, a shadow among the chaos. He looked pale, his hands shoved deep in his pockets, and Jake felt a surge of anger ripple through him. Mark seemed lost, detached from the panic surrounding him. Jake! Mark's head shot up, recognizing him through the crowd. An expression of relief crossed his face, but it quickly morphed into anxiety as he noticed Lisa beside him. What are you doing here? I came to find you, Jake said, his voice sharp. He glanced back at the flames, feeling gravity pull at his heart. But it looks like you're already busy. Mark's brows furrowed, confusion clouding his face. I just got here. I didn't have anything to do with this. I swear. Then why were you involved with the last fire? Jake shot back, not allowing the flicker of hope that Mark was innocent to break through the barrier of doubt. The siren's melody of chaos echoed a truth deep within him. I didn't set the fire, Mark insisted, panic now evident in his voice. That's not who I am anymore. But the more Mark spoke, the more Jake's resolve hardened. You were part of something dangerous, Mark. Lisa told me everything. Everything? Mark's eyes widened. Jake, please. You don't understand. I was trying to protect who? Yourself? Jake could feel emotions raging like the flames before them. You're not the only one who got burned. What about us? This community? Mark's face shifted from desperation to defiance, but underneath it was an undercurrent of fear. I can explain. I was trying to make things right. The urgency around them intensified as firefighters brought in the last of the hose. The blaze flickered but seemed unrelenting, a mirror to the chaos threatening Jake's life now. He felt cornered, caught between the flames of destruction and hope. Mark, I need to know the truth. Was it all a lie? Or can we fight this together? Before Mark could respond, another siren pierced the night, another vehicle pulling up and its team emerging with an air of command. Something bigger was happening, and Jake sensed the urgency building within him, clashing against the fear of betrayal. He stepped closer, determined not to lose everything he had fought for. You have 2 minutes to tell me everything. Just as Mark opened his mouth to speak, an explosion rattled the ground beneath them, forcing Jake to shield Lisa. This wasn't just a fire, it was a ticking clock of revelations about to unfold. What lay beneath the surface of Mark's life that would change everything forever? The ground trembled beneath them, sending shockwaves through Jake's body. He instinctively moved closer to Lisa, his heart pounding in his chest. The flames danced higher, casting an eerie glow on their faces, illuminating the grim reality they stood in. What was that? Lisa gasped, her voice trembling with fear. Jake's eyes locked onto Mark, who remained frozen in place, his jaw slack with disbelief. The fear that spread across Mark's features sent a chilling wake through Jake. Was this the man who had once been so reckless, so full of anger? Mark! Jake shouted over the din, urgency lacing his voice. You need to talk to me right now. This could change everything. Mark blinked as if trying to shake off a daze. Then he finally stepped forward, desperation edging into his eyes. Listen, I swear I didn't want this to happen. It's all connected, the fires, everything. I thought we were done with it. Jake felt a strange tug at his heart. Done with what? What do you know? But before Mark could answer, the sound of another explosion rippled through the air, and another wave of heat washed over them. Panic swept through the crowd, and people began running in different directions, chaos erupting around them. Let us find cover. Lisa urged, tugging at Jake's arm, her grip firm but tremulous. She needed him, and he knew he had to be strong for her. No. We can't leave him. Jake shouted, his eyes fixed on Mark. He had to know what was happening, had to confront the truth no matter how dark it was. Jake, please. Lisa pleaded, her voice cracking under the pressure. We have to go. It's not safe here. Jake hesitated, caught between the urgency to protect Lisa and the need to unearth the truth. Mark. He called again, but the flames crackled louder, drowning out his words. Suddenly, Mark took a step forward, his brow furrowed, resolute. I wasn't just part of it, Jake. I was pulled into something I didn't choose this. But I wanted to help to make things right. But they found me again. What do you mean, they? Jake asked, now feeling a mix of anger and dread alongside concern for his friend. They're coming for all of us. The ones who want to keep this quiet, Mark whispered urgently, his voice barely rising above the roar of the flames. And it's not just about the fires, it's bigger. Jake's stomach sank, a wave of nausea hitting him like a freight train. This wasn't just personal anymore, it was a disaster waiting to swallow them whole. What do you know? What did you get into? I can't explain everything now. Just trust me. Mark shouted, panic rising. You have to leave while you still can. But just as he finished speaking, a shadow loomed behind Mark amid the chaos, a figure stepping out from the flickering light, its face obscured. There was an unsettling familiarity about the silhouette that sent shivers down Jake's spine. Mark. The figure called, their voice smooth and commanding, a chill that cut through the tension like a knife. You didn't think it would be this easy, did you? Jake's heart raced as realization hit him. This was more than a fire. It was the start of a reckoning that would engulf them all. Mark, run. Jake yelled, every instinct screaming at him that time was running out. As the figure advanced, Jake could feel the weight of the looming threat crushing down on them. Could they escape it, or was this the moment where everything spiraled out of control? Would the truth set them free, or only lead to more danger? In the chaos, the flames shifted, casting ominous shadows around them. Jake fought to keep Lisa close, his resolve deepening. They might not have time for answers, but he would do anything to protect her and Mark. The fire raged behind them, but the real battle was just beginning. As the figure drew nearer, Jake braced himself for what was about to unfold. What secrets lay hidden in Mark's past that could explode their lives, and how deep did the connections go? The night had only begun, and so had their fight for survival. As the figure from the shadows stepped closer, Jake felt the crowd press in tight. There was no escape from the looming threat. It was right there, a heavy presence weighted with wrongs that had yet to be set right. Mark's eyes locked onto the stranger, horror flickering across his face, a mirror of Jake's own mounting dread. "Jake," Mark began, voice trembling, "you have to understand. They won't let me go. They won't let any of us go." "What do you mean?" Jake shouted, urgency lacing his words as chaos still thundered around them. "Who are they? What have you gotten us into?" Panic crept in, making each word hard to articulate as the reality of their situation began to sink in. The shadowy figure smirked, their face just barely illuminated by the flames. "You really thought you could escape the past, Mark? You think you can just run away from your sins? It's time to collect." With that, the realization slammed into Jake like a freight train. This wasn't just about Mark. It was about everyone they had fought to protect, the community, the children, the delicate threads of trust they had begun weaving together. "Get back!" Lisa cried, pulling Jake further away, sensing the danger erupting at the edges of their fragile peace. She tugged at him, urgency flooding through her veins. "Jake! We really need to leave. Now!" But Jake's instincts fought back, refusing to turn away. "No," he said, grounding himself, feeling responsible for not only Lisa but for the truth trapped within the chaos. "I won't let this happen again." He thrust himself back towards Mark, ready to unearth the depths of their struggle. Mark's eyes darted back and forth, torn between wanting to shield his brother from the truth and needing to confess. "It was a deal for protection, but it went wrong. They threatened me. I didn't want any of this to happen." Panic flooded his voice, and Jake could see true fear reflected there. Suddenly, as if on cue, the figure advanced, lunging with a menacing presence that made the onlookers gasp. "You can't hide forever, Mark. The debt is due." Firefighters continued their work, oblivious to the deeper stakes unfolding just feet away. The siren of urgency rang loud, magnifying the chaos, and for a moment, everything blurred into the unbearable realization of impending doom. "Stop!" Jake shouted, stepping in front of Mark and Lisa, drawing strength from the thousands of moments he had prepared himself for this. "Whatever debt exists, we'll face it together. You want Mark? You'll have to go through me first." The figure's laughter echoed, dark and cynical, feeding on their fears. "You really think you can protect him? Or this pathetic community? It's all so fragile." Ignoring the threat, Jake felt a strange calm settle amidst the storm. "This community stands in strength together. Past ghosts won't dictate our futures. We will take control." Each word dripped with defiance, a challenge echoing through the tension. A flicker of uncertainty crossed the figure's face. "You're either foolish or brave. Either way, it's too late. The past waits for no one. And when it comes, you'll see how vulnerable you really are." In that charged silence, Jake noticed Sarah moving through the crowd, her fierce heart leading her to their side, eyes locked on him with determination. Her very presence invigorated him, solidifying the bond that had taken shape through trials and effort. "Jake!" Sarah called out, eyes blazing with focus. "We stand united. If this is a fight, we fight for our community, not just for survival, but for healing. Together." Others in the crowd echoed, their voices swelling in unison, a chorus of shared resolve against the darkness threatening to engulf them. But then, as quickly as unity surged, the shadow figure seemed to withdraw for a moment, registering the weight of their collective strength. The air crackled with tension, stirring between hope and fear. It was time for the reckoning, the point of no return. "Very well," the cloaked figure said, performing a theatrical bow. "Let us see if you really can endure the fires of the past. Choices will be made, and lives will be lost. This is only the beginning." With that, the figure whirled and disappeared into the chaos, leaving a trail of uncertainty. Jake's heart raced as the flames continued to rage, yet in the chaos, hope flickered alive. "Stay alert," Jake shouted, locking eyes with Mark and Sarah. "We stick together, we need to regroup. Whatever danger lies ahead, we'll face it as a community. No more shadows." As they began to move back towards the heart of the crowd, tension coursing through him, Jake felt more resolved than ever. They couldn't afford to be torn apart by the darkness. Love, strength, and unity would carry them through the flames. In that moment, amid the uncertainty, Jake realized something powerful: redemption doesn't come from running away. It emerges when they face the fire together, resilient, unbroken, transforming pain into strength. A renewed sense of purpose surged through Jake as he and the others linked arms, ready for the battle ahead. They would protect each other, and they would build a future worth fighting for, irrespective of the past. Now was the time. Together, they would rewrite their story. So as the night hung thick with uncertainties, they would not back down from the fight. They would face challenges as they came, but love would fuel their rising flames, and destiny held the promise of transformative light ahead. Now, they were ready. If you felt inspired by this journey, you need to subscribe now to this channel to not miss out on more exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button right now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this journey. Leave a comment sharing your feelings about the ending, it means so much. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Standing together as a community is what makes us truly powerful.